days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. 49ers are relevant.
Right.
It's November 1st, Alex. The 49ers are relevant, and there's tons of players back.
Coming back into the fold, and a plethora of returns. Also some new injury updates. And I guess a reaction of us to the Von Miller information that came out that, you know, the Rams are dealing away a second and a third in order to bring this guy in to the fold over there with the Los Angeles Rams. So look, a lot of things to talk about today, a lot of things to go over. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe. Become the newest member of the Cutback crew. You don't want to miss out on any of the daily content, any of the updates we got coming for you. You know, brought to you by the podcast that's been extremely positive and been letting you know what's going on with San Francisco and that, you know, they weren't out of the woods yet, that the season wasn't over, it wasn't done, and that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be quarterback one until, you know, irrelevant. And let's start with that before we get to the returns, because It's an easy one to get through. It's pretty simple to get through, because for us, the both of us, this is not a surprise. This isn't new information. This isn't shocking revelations. You know, Rappaport came out and said, you know, based on what he's hearing, it seems like quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo will be QB1 in San Francisco as long as the 49ers are relevant. Literally something we've been saying for weeks. Does this surprise you? Does this shock you? Is this ground-shaking and terrible news for people who like Trey Lance and support Trey Lance because this means that Trey is just not ready at all whatsoever, or is it just more along the lines of what we've been saying the whole time?
It's pretty much our belief the whole time, right? I think me and you have been feeling the same way, is that Trey Lance, when they drafted him, he was always going to be a developmental guy, and that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the guy that was hopefully going to get them to the playoffs because they thought they could win now and win later. It's kind of one of those, you know, have your cake and eat it too situations where they're able to get that guy that they know is going to be the future and going to take your team to new heights, but you still have a guy that can, you know, get it done. And I think that it did get to a point, though, where it was push come to shove here in Chicago. They needed to win this Chicago game. Jimmy Garoppolo's back was firmly against the wall, and I believe he felt it. And if you saw the post game and you saw that he got the game ball, Kyle Shanahan literally said his back was against the wall. The fact that Kyle Shanahan said that in the locker room and the whole entire team responded, I think it's a good thing that Jimmy responded in a big way, became a leader, showed his leadership, I think, even more than normal. And I think that is a good sign moving forward. And the 49ers are a half game out of the playoff hunt. They're right in the mix of things. They have 3 divisional wins, which divisional tiebreaker is important. And the Panthers are absolutely reeling there. They're in the 7th spot, and they're reeling. And I see opportunities not only for the 49ers to get in there in the 7th spot, but maybe as high as the 6th or 5th spot, because New Orleans, who's up there as well, has just suffered an ACL tear to Jameis Winston and are going to be looking for quarterback help there. So there's a lot of moving parts. The 49ers are in a good situation where they're right there. Now, they have some tough games they need to win,
100%.
But there are winnable football games because also the Tennessee Titans could be without big running back Derrick Henry for the whole season.
They are for sure. I found the update on it. It is a Jones fracture, which is the worst possible. I mean, that could be, depending on how that heals, that is potentially career altering as well.
Oh, that's terrible.
It is. It's absolutely awful. Those Jones fractures are no joke. It's literally, if you're a running back, the worst possible thing that could happen to you.
Well, especially a big running back, somebody with a lot of mass and size that, you know, has to count on those feet.
It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of stress on the lower half.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrible. And the thing is though, injuries, right, have been affecting the 49ers all year long. And we've been saying it's going to be throughout the league because we don't think this is a Kyle Shanahan 49ers problem. We think this is actually an NFL players getting too big, too fast, too strong, and the collective bargaining agreement, them not being able to do all the practices like they used to, finally catching up to some of these guys, and it's unfortunate.
It truly is, and field stuff doesn't necessarily help either because some of these fields that you're playing on with the turf, you know, studies have been coming out that have been showing lower extremity injuries on turf fields exponentially increase. The more you're playing on turf, the more chances you have to play on turf. And when you're younger, body's a little bit looser, not as tight usually in space. Your ligaments are a little bit a little more flexible down there, and so I
understand that.
Yeah, I get that too. So some of those injuries you're not necessarily having when you're younger. Some guys are. Some guys aren't. but it takes its toll. It's a wear on your body throughout your career, no matter, how long you play, whether it's a little bit of time, whether you're a guy like Jalen Moore, right, that was a basketball player for a majority of your career and are now just shifting over to football. It's going to take a toll on you. The game will at some point in time. And the Tennessee Titans are also dealing with Tannehill potentially being out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
You brought up Jameis Winston and what happened there. They also have Taysom Hill is still out currently. They're rolling with a third-string quarterback there. Now, I know they got a big win against Tampa Bay with, Jameis going out of the game. I get that. But Simeon's going to be limited in terms of what he can and cannot do in that offense, which means there are opportunities to beat that team. The Carolina Panthers, like you talked about, or reeling. Minnesota just lost to a Dak-less Cowboys. All of these teams are right in the thick of the playoff hunt and the playoff picture. If you're the 49ers right now, you got a win against a fairly healthy Bears team outside of Khalil Mack, but you were missing a lot of pieces too. And you had every reason to, not play a good enough game to come out of this with a win. You did. Everyone else around you is getting hurt. And now, Ant, the returns start mounting for San Francisco.
Right.
Because you have the window opening up this week for George Kittle, on top of the reports being that apparently Jeff Wilson Jr. is going to be basically his practice window is opening. He's on the still on the PUP list, but they're now expecting this guy to be back in a couple of weeks, which is way earlier than what Kyle Shanahan was originally anticipating and expecting. This is something that you kept mentioning and bringing up. It's coming to fruition now. Those are just two of the names that are returning, but those are two huge names for the 49ers.
Yeah, and Jeff Wilson Jr., he said he's going to open they could open the practice window this week. They're going to, and he could be ready for Arizona, but more than likely it's the next week against the Rams. But the good news is he's coming back, and that is a big part of it. And the fact that we're getting these guys back right now is exactly what we need. I mean, George Kittle will be back. He's going to be playing against Arizona, and that's huge. But two offensive weapons in the offense has been the question mark. But you've seen the 49ers unveil their mantra this week, whatever it takes. That was the key mantra. That was what they were saying. That's what the social media was pushing. So for everyone that was saying that this locker room was somewhat frayed, ha ha, ha 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 ha. Once again, you do not know what's going on in that locker room. They are together. They are behind Kyle Shanahan. So the whole fire Kyle Shanahan thing was bogus once again.
Shocking.
Nobody in this locker room is ready to move off of it. There's no dissension. This team is together. And bringing back a huge leader like George Kittle, a running back like Jeff Wilson, who's got it done before in some of the biggest moments, is going to be huge for this roster. And the 49ers are going to respond in a big way. Every time you add another piece, it just elevates your game a little bit. So 49ers were able to put up over 30 points against the Bears. That's good news. When you add two weapons like this, that means your potential to have more 30-point games increases.
It goes up exponentially, and that isn't also to add to the fact of the other names that you have coming back from this list, this plethora of guys that are returning potentially this week. Robbie Gould is set to return to practice, which means the window opens up there, and now you can part ways with Joey Sly. That frees up the number 14 and maybe opens up an avenue to potentially see Jalen Hurd here sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
But no word.
Trails, Joey Sly.
Yeah, happy trails, Joey Sly. No word officially on Hurd, but Robbie Gould coming back into the fold gives you that consistency and stability at the kicker position that the 49ers would like to have. Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to have to consider, hey, from the 35, we're up 7, right? It's 4th and 5. We got a nice, a nice 40 plus yard field goal here. It's totally within Robbie Gould's range. But we don't have Robbie Gould. We have this other guy that we're not so sure about. And he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. You have a guy who can consistently put up 3 points for you. But not just that. Not just Robbie Gould coming back, Ant. Azeez Al-Shaair and Dee Ford both set to return this week, as well as potentially Dre Greenlaw, who's got a few tests that he has to pass with this physical staff. They're hoping they can open the practice window Wednesday, which opens the door for him being available against the Arizona Cardinals, which means you get your entire potential linebacking core out there in space against this Arizona Cardinals team. Hopefully an ability to slow down that run game even more so than you've been doing, and being able to stick in your base down sets where Arizona can't come out and take advantage of you in those situations.
Yeah, that's the key, right? Is that Arizona did that in the first game. Is they took advantage of the 49ers being stuck in base 4-3 sets, getting Marcel Harris on the field, and then taking advantage of him. And with Ertz, they want to play Ertz. So they want to put the 49ers in situations where they're in the 4-3, base 4-3 set. And so the 49ers having those linebackers back is nice. And that'll put the Arizona Cardinals in a bad situation because they're going to have to count on this run game. Colt McCoy is not going to carry this team, to a victory. So it does change things. But getting these guys back, and I know there was a lot of names that we went through, but Robbie Gold is huge because from 50, 50 under, he's got a really good chance to make it. And that's what Joey Slye was missing in this game, was the extra point, the 48-yard field goal. Those are makes for Robbie Gold. Robbie Gold makes a lot of difficult field goals in a lot of different, weather type situations. And those are things that you need. And so you can just count on him in those situations. So Kyle knows where he's got to get. Yes, does he struggle a little bit past 50? 100% he does. His leg's not as strong as it used to be. Those things are all accurate. But when it comes down to it, you want that guy that can nail those field goals in that range. And then you kind of mentioned, about Dre Greenlaw coming back, and that's going to be huge. Azeez has been playing fantastic. I mean, 100% he's been great this year. But getting Dre Greenlaw back, the way he looked in week 1 against Detroit, and he wasn't even fully healthy in that game.
That's crazy.
He's going to be a dynamic piece of this linebacker group. The run defense is going to be vastly improved, getting those two guys together. I'm super excited about that because anytime you stabilize and make one part of your defense better, it makes all the rest of the defense better. So I expect that to radiate through the defensive line because they won't have to do as much in run fits. They won't have to adjust the defensive linemen as much, because they'll have those linebackers there. Plus, with that ability to bring Azeez and Dre and have them cover tight ends and running backs out of the backfield, it also gives you the opportunity to help protect your back end as well, which is going to need to be happening still. You can't put them on an island and expect those guys to win consistently, but every once in a while they can do it for you. So it's all about give and take, and getting these guys back is huge for this defense.
I mean, it's gigantic, man. Not to mention the fact that, what have we seen the 49ers have to deal with a lot this year, 5-man fronts. So having Dre Greenlaw back, having Azeez on the field, you can walk one guy down on the side if you feel it's a run situation now and put 5 guys down on the line of scrimmage. Makes it a lot harder for them to get that outside zone going. And now you can get yourself into situations where maybe you show that five-man down look on a potential passing down. You can move Bosa inside just a little bit. That prevents him from getting chipped, puts him into more one-on-one situations before maybe you drop guys back into coverage. It creates avenues and opportunities for DeMeco Ryans to change the look, change the front, put guys in different spots, and give guys opportunities to attack and play to their strengths, their best of their abilities, which is important for this defense. We haven't played with a healthy linebacking core. That's just the reality of the situation. Greenlaw wasn't healthy, and looks early in the season, right, in week 1, but even with a non-100% Dre Greenlaw, look at what that defense was for the first 3 quarters of that game up until the last few minutes. It's a much different team than the team that we saw, week 1 against the Lions. A much different defense. It's experienced different things and overcome crazy obstacles and shut one of the best offensive teams down in the Arizona Cardinals already and slowed them down earlier this season. I get it. There's a lot of 49ers fans. We haven't won a game at home when we're at home. This is actually a disadvantage for us. I wouldn't say it's a disadvantage. We have everything to gain from this game. Getting your first win at home of the season, putting yourself at 500, knocking off a team that's the top spot in the NFC West.
Yeah.
You're playing for a lot this week. There's a lot at stake for the 49ers. And if you lose, yeah, you're in a bad spot yet again at 3-5. But the season again isn't out of reach completely. You're just making it significantly harder for yourself than you need it to be. The 49ers are aware of what's at stake. That's why the new mantra makes sense. It fits. And it's great to see this team and this group embrace it so much, is because they're all aware of what they've dealt with, right? They're all aware of the mounting injuries, the shoddy play, the inconsistencies, the lack of execution. They know. They've been a part of it. They've witnessed it. They've experienced it. No longer about that, right? It's not about what has happened. It's all about whatever it takes to get where we want to be.
Yeah, none of that matters. Everything else in the season doesn't matter anymore. Nope. All that matters is the next game in front of you. You got to win the next game. You got to win the next play. You got to win the next battle. That's what it's about. And it's not about winning pretty. It's not about winning ugly. It's just about winning. And that's what their message is right now. Kyle Shanahan even said, this wasn't a pretty win by any means, but we'll take it. And that's how it has to be for the season. If you're looking for pretty wins, they don't exist in the NFL very often. It's not about pretty wins. If we won every single game ugly, I'd be pretty much excited with that. And that was the same way I was with coaching. I didn't care if I walked away with a pretty win or an ugly win. As long as it was a win, you walked away feeling accomplished. And you can build on those sort of things. You can build on that momentum, and I think they can build on the momentum that they built in the last game. And part of that comes from getting guys back. It is a huge boost. And Alex, you've been a part of rosters. You understand this, that when somebody comes into the fold that is new, either at the beginning of the season or during the season, that comes back from an injury or whatever, like, oh, we got another piece. We got another guy that can ride with us. It's a jolt of energy that you can get. And they're going to feel that in a big way with George Kittle. And they're going to feel that in a big way with Dre Greenlaw. And with Jeff Wilson. These guys are going to bring excitement, exuberance, and physicality to this team. Every one of those guys are very physical. They're very to the point of attack.
And they've been around the guys. Yeah. So it's, yes, they haven't been on the field. Yes, they haven't been going through the lumps and, you know, actively participating in the losses, right? They're not doing stuff on the field, but you're there. And when you're there and you can't contribute, you can't do things to help your team get there, it gives you that extra, those guys, there's that extra little bit of motivation. Like, man, I feel like if I was there, maybe we get that one extra stop. Maybe we do that one extra thing, and that adds that little bit of fuel to the fire, because now you come in hungry, right? When someone starts to slip up a little bit or drop down a little bit in their play, you know, if Fred's feeling a little beat up, Azeez maybe misses a tackle or whatever, isn't in the right spot, you know, the guy who hasn't been playing, who's been sitting around watching these guys hey, I've seen this already. We've seen this story, right? This isn't this moment anymore. I'm here. I got your back too. And they can step up and elevate and be that little extra little voice in the back of their head going, hey guys, no. This isn't a couple weeks ago. This isn't, I'm here now. I'm here to help. And they can elevate and raise their play, as well as raise the guys around their play too with their morale. You know, all of this is going to be gigantic for San Francisco. The addition of all these guys back into the locker room makes life just a little bit easier on your offense. It makes life a lot easier on the defense. Fred Warner is probably one of the happiest guys right now on the defensive side of the football, because teams have been sending so many guys his way to deal with Fred Warner. He's been having to navigate so much traffic and so much attention. Good luck. Good luck doing that now, because you're just going to open things up for Azeez Al-Shaair. If you decide to do that, you're going to open things up for Dre Greenlaw. They're going to blow things up and blow plays up, and then teams are going to have to adjust, free up Fred in space, and then guess what? A free Fred Warner is all-pro Fred Warner. It's tackles for loss Fred Warner. It's turnovers Fred Warner. We almost saw him have the pick, Ant. It was close this last Sunday. He almost gave it to you, my guy. Fred is ready. All right, Fred's hearing the nonsense and the people talking about, oh, goes to Warner. It isn't goes to Warner. It's Warner dealing with literally all of the attention from that O-line and run plays, because they're getting up to second level, and all of the guys are getting up to second level and being like, hey, where's Fred at?
Yeah.
Hey, where's that 54 at? Because if we could just take him out of this play here, well, let's make Marcel Harris make tackles. Let's let the safeties come up in the box and make tackles. Let's make Josh Norman come all the way in from the outside and make tackles.
As Bill Walsh would say, every single one of these players are extensions of somebody else. Mm-hmm. So Fred Warner's able to do what Fred Warner does because of the things that happen, because of Eric Armstead, what he does in the D-line, or what Nick Bosa does, or what Azeez Al-Shaair does next to him, or what, you know, Jimmy Ward and Jaquiski Tartt have been doing behind him. All these people are extensions of themselves. They all work together, and when they work in unison, it works out for the team. You know, that's when they play their best. And that's the key, and that's part of what's going on. And that's part of the reason that the 49ers aren't really willing to make any trades, according to Kyle Shanahan, is because they're going to be getting these players back. It's like they've made a trade. They're getting in Dre Greenlaw, you know, and they're getting in these guys that they haven't had, that they've been battling through the season without, and now they're coming back. George Kittle is a huge add, you know, to this team. And they've been able to, you know, kind of hover. I know they went through a 4-game losing streak, and that was rough, but now they got a win, and now feels like they can go on the right path. So they don't need to make moves. They don't need to give up this draft capital. They've believed that they got a roster that can, you know, get it done, and we're going to see if that is going to be the case. But I think it does make sense. That's why they're not involved in the trade. And I think that's what we were talking about. The results of the Bears game was going to ultimately determine if the 49ers were interested in trading or not. And it was my belief that they probably weren't going to make any trades unless they had lost that game. Maybe they were going to be sellers. I thought that was the one way they would go. They won the football game. Thank God. I wanted them to be relevant. I wanted them to be able to battle this season and still have a shot at the playoffs. And they're keeping everybody in the mix. And that's all you want to be, is in the mix to get into the playoffs and then see what could happen. So it doesn't shock me that they're not going to make any moves.
No, this isn't a surprise at all. You know, both you and I both said it was going to come down to the Bears game. We were both feeling, you get a win, you get a nice win, not a perfect win, not a pretty win, a nice win. It was a win that was necessary and needed to happen, and you did what you needed to do, which is why it's nice and not amazing or incredible or perfect. Just nice. Nice win. Did what you were supposed to do. Get a W. Thank goodness. But now, there's no reason to There's no reason to sell, because you're like you said, half game out. Everyone else that's in that contentions for that 7th spot right now is struggling. They're all struggling. They're all dealing with something. So for the 49ers, yes, you've been struggling, but you got to win. And like you just brought up and talked about, all these pieces returning, all of these guys coming back. yeah, it's like making trades, except you don't have to give up any capital. You're not giving up anything other than what you've already paying all of these guys to have an impact on your team anyway. So for the 49ers, this is huge. You have other teams like the Rams making moves for guys like Von Miller and giving up a second and a third round pick. And I've seen 49ers fans going, oh, that's all it was going to cost? Why didn't we try and do something like, why aren't we trying to go out and make a move like that for a player, for a team that's selling? Like, why aren't we? Well, look, Kyle's comments on this make it very clear to me what this is for San Francisco. They are a team that operates as if the salary cap exists. So when he was asked about Von Miller, he said, listen, I don't know what exactly they did cap-wise. I don't know what they gave up pick-wise, but it's obvious. You add Von Miller to the mix, and it's definitely going to help your football team out, right now. So a nice pause, and then a right now. Because the Rams giving up that pick now means what? I think they don't have a pick till the fourth round?
Fourth round of 2022 draft, yes.
So next year's draft, while everyone else is making draft picks and making moves and drafting future players for their organization, their franchise, the Los Angeles Rams are going to be sitting on their hands waiting for their turn. And if you don't re-sign Von Miller, and Von Miller walks in the offseason because it's the last year of his deal, then you gave up a second and a third round pick for a 8-week rental?
Well, they're going all in.
And I get that. You have the roster, right? You make the moves. But the 49ers did this similar thing with Emmanuel Sanders and didn't have to give up a second and a third. This isn't the first time that the Rams have gone all in with a move, Ant. You signed Jared Goff to the massive contract. You signed Todd Gurley to the massive contract as well. The Rams have done this a lot. They pulled the trigger on things. Now, they may have course-corrected their analysis and how they break things down in order to go all in and make these types of decisions. I would imagine after the blunder with that Gurley contract and the blunder with the Gaff contract that you would do that. You would readjust, your formula or how you evaluate or value players in accordance to your team and the impact they can have before you make a big decision like this. It also helped, right, that the Denver Broncos ate $9 million of his contract this year for him, so they don't really have to pay him a whole lot on their cap for their book. But you have to try and potentially re-sign him. It's a right now move for the Rams. That's what they did. They made a right now move. The 49ers don't necessarily have to make a right now move. Why? You have cap space, number one. But number two, all of these guys are coming back, are going to have an impact right now also. So for the 49ers, you're just going to sit tight. The message has been from the players in the locker room, we believe we have the guys here, right, in the building already to get this thing done and get to a Super Bowl. We believe we can do that. They're going to ride or die with the group they have.
I would love to have Von Miller on the team. We did a video about Von Miller early on where we were talking about him being traded. We had heard he could be traded, and we were interested in him. And the thing is, I'm not willing to give up a second and a third round pick because really Von Miller, he would add a lot to this football team, but that's not where our questions are on the defensive line anymore. It's interior. It's not on the outside. We got Nick Bosa, we got Dee Ford, we got Jordan Willis. We've got Arden Key. We've got a lot of pieces on the outside that we can use. Samson Ebukam. Von Miller is a big-time player, and he would make this team so much better. But a second and third round pick for a rental is a lot to give up, and especially with us giving up so much draft capital for Trey Lance before, I'm not ready to go into a season where we draft in the fourth round for the first time.
Nope.
So I'm okay with them not making this move. I understand what Los Angeles Rams are doing, but will it pay off? Will it be enough? I mean, Arizona's been making moves. The Rams are making moves, and I think Arizona went out and got Ertz, made the move that, here we go. They may make. It
was a third, I think they gave.
Yeah, and then what happened? Kyler gets hurt, and now you're going to lose some football games probably. So the thing is there's no guarantee that Von Miller is going to be healthy the whole year. There's no guarantee that this move is going to be the one that puts you over. You're trying to do it, so you have to weigh what it is. I mean, am I kind of looking at them like, hey, you guys are aggressive, way to go, good job? Yeah, I am, and at the same time, I understand why the 49ers wouldn't be willing to make a similar move. Correct.
Well, let's also not forget, too, right? The Arizona Cardinals in the offseason, you went and made the big signing for J.J. Watt as well, and now he's out for the rest of the year. So,
and A.J. Green just forgot to turn around.
And that as well. A.J. Green just doesn't turn around in the end zone and look for footballs. But look, I mean, this is the thing with signing older players and bringing older guys in. Yes, there's experience. Yes, the veteran play. Especially if they're still playing at a high level, which it seems like Miller has been.
Playing pretty good.
He's not playing obviously to what he was pre-Achilles, but
right.
Pre-Achilles, right? There's before a big major injury to him. So with Aaron Donald too, it's going to make his life significantly easier than what it was with Denver. So, I mean, it's definitely a move that the Rams feel is going to give them an edge up on defense. Their defense has been a little up and down this season. The pass rush is important. They understand, what the teams, right, that have struggled this year, the good teams in the league that have struggled this year have struggled because of pressure, right? Tom Brady against the Saints this last week struggled because Saints D-line is pretty talented, and they were able to get pressure. Tampa Bay beats the Chiefs because they can get pressure. The Chargers lose football games because Justin Herbert doesn't have protection. There's pressure. Mm-hmm. All of these young, talented, or even not young, just extremely talented quarterbacks in the league.
Right.
If the O-line struggle to keep them protected, you're going to struggle to win football games because your offense doesn't have the necessary time to necessarily play to the strengths that you want it to play to. They're trying to make sure that they can apply that same kind of pressure, because if you can apply that pressure to Kyler Murray, maybe you can make him make some mistakes. You can apply that pressure to Russell Wilson. You can make him make mistakes. Same thing with the 49ers, right? If you apply pressure to Jimmy Garoppolo and don't allow him to have clean pockets and throw, he's going to make some mistakes. Trey has shown that he'll tuck and run early right now if he feels that pressure coming and he feels that internal clock ticking away. So look, I'm all happy for the Rams, for them making their move. They're going all in. They're rolling the dice, right? They know what their hand is. They think they got the best hand at the table. And so they're taking that extra card that just turned up Von Miller right on the river, and they're pushing into the pot all in, and this is our opportunity to claim this thing and get this chip. The 49ers, you have all these pieces coming back. You believe it already. You believe this group can get it done. Go all in with the guys you have and see what happens. Worst case scenario, Ant, right? Worst case scenario is you miss out on the playoffs, and you're rolling with the young quarterback next year, and you got some moves and some things you're going to have to shore up. That's worst case scenario. Best case scenario, you're making it into the playoffs, like you said, potentially as a 5 seed, and you have an opportunity to get hot at the right time and make a run and surprise and shock everybody.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see where they're at. It's going to depend on where Arizona and the Rams sit in the playoff hunt. But there's no guarantee that the Rams and 49ers ever even see each other in the playoffs.
Also true.
So you just don't know how things are going to play out. And so you don't really get worked up about it right now. You see what the matchups are going to be. Yeah, the Rams know what needs to be done to stop the 49ers and stop Arizona and stop Seattle. Get pressure on the quarterback. That's been pretty much the remedy for every single one of these teams is you apply pressure from the front with a defensive line, and you can slow down the opposing offenses. So they're going to get after it. They're going to see what they can do. But we'll see how this all plays out. You just don't know how things are going to work out. It always looks good on paper, but until it shows up on the field, you don't know. It could be the most dynamic defensive front line that we've ever seen with the Rams, and they might go ahead and win it all, and that's great. That means they made an awesome move, and also might mean nothing. You might be completely taken care of, and the 49ers can figure out a way to beat it. We're going to find out, and that's why you play the game, and that's why you get all these different pieces. There's always some way to remedy a different situation. Just because someone gets stronger doesn't mean they get stronger than you. You can find a different way around it. So I'm curious how it ends up. And unfortunately, though, Alex, we got a few injuries still that have come down the pipe because we know Jimmy Ward left during the game. Kyle Shanahan said maybe into the third, beginning of the fourth quarter with a quad, and they're saying 1 to 2 weeks. They did say an outside chance he could play in this game, but it wasn't likely.
It's a grade 1 strain from what the diagnosis is, which is the lowest possible tier of muscle strain that you can have on your body. I don't know the depth of the strain. Quadricep muscle is made up of 4 different muscles there in your lower leg. So is it a grade 1 strain of multiple muscles, or is it just one of those 4 quad muscles? I'm leaning towards 1 of 4 because if they're saying it's an outside chance, then probably means there's not a significant amount of damage in that strain. It's just a heavy stretching of that area, and there's probably a lot of pain when he contracts and pushing off in space and some discomfort there. So probably a week, I would say. If the 49ers are really comfortable with what Devon Wilson is doing and how Talanoa Hufanga's playing, then I could see them being like, hey, you know what, we're going to roll 2 weeks and make sure that you're 100% healthy, because even if you win just one of the next 2 and you're sitting there at 4-5 with him coming back healthy, and you've played now a good chunk of your NFC West games versus opponents, you're pretty comfortable in that spot. It's not ideal, but it's better than being, what we could be at this point, which would be potentially 2-7 if you didn't beat this Bears football team. So we'll see what happens with that. But that one sucks because you were already rolling with a young guy in Talanoa Hufanga, and now a question mark in Tavon Wilson in terms of, what is he to this team and what can he be? The Niners had activated Kai Nakua, but you and I both think with Tony Jefferson on
He's
the hurt. He is hurt. I heard Kyle say this. What exactly is he dealing with?
He's dealing with a hamstring. So they're saying he's out at least 3 weeks.
Okay, so then you know for sure 100% Tony Jefferson's getting called up.
Yeah.
That's happening.
Kai Nakua, welcome, and see you later.
Sayonara. That fast.
Yeah.
So no Kai Nakua. So yeah, Tony Jefferson. I mean, that's a very thin. It's getting to be a very thin safety room. I would imagine with Greenlaw potentially coming back, you're going to see the Marcel Harris move back to safety.
Could be. I think so. I think you could see Marcel Harris playing in that role if needed.
Yep.
But I think they could roll into this game with a few safeties. You know, it's Hufanga. Maybe they even re-sign Jared Maiden, you know, and put him back on the practice squad as a potential guy that could come in there and fill in. But
could be.
Yeah, you could go roll with Jefferson, Tivon Wilson, and Talanoa Hufanga, with Marcel Harris being your emergency guy. But yeah, there's questions though. You have Tart and you're gonna have Jimmy Ward out at the same time, and that's not good. They were playing pretty good. I was excited about those two as a tandem, and then they go away. But Hufanga played well in relief, and he played really well in his first start. I thought he did a good job. I was proud of him, and I like his improvement in the pass game, which was always the question for him. There's never been any questions about him around the line of scrimmage, in the run fits, blowing up screen passes, all that stuff. That stuff was never a question. It was always the deep plays. But it looked like Tavon Wilson was able to play those deep plays pretty well. Sure. We were impressed with him in camp. So he's a solid backup and a guy that's done it for a long time in this league. So I'm pretty comfortable with those guys. It is a little scary going against Arizona. But, I mean, it wouldn't matter if we had Ward and Tart. It would have been scary going against Arizona.
I mean, they've just got a lot of talented wideouts, and their quarterback, when he's healthy, mobile, can extend plays, and has an arm. So we'll see what actually happens there with the Kyler Murray situation. I know Cliff Kingsbury, shockingly, and I know you and I are both going to be super surprised by this, and hopefully 49ers fans aren't. He's unwilling to give really a full status update on Kyler Murray. He's not willing to say if he's out or playing, just kind of up in the air. Stunned.
Yeah, you don't want to give the 49ers any sort of heads up, what they're preparing for, because if they can prepare all week for Kyler Murray and then you play Colt McCoy, it changes things a little bit. But in the same regard, just prepare for Kyler Murray. And if you get Colt McCoy, you're like, oh, well, we're going to go for broke and get after you.
Yep.
It's not a big deal. So with them, it's a little bit different than it would be preparing for, whether it's Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo. It's a little bit of a different thing because those guys are completely different. But the guy who's completely different is more athletic. With this one, you prepare for the athletic guy because he's a starter, and then the backup is just not as good.
No, he's not as athletic, not as talented. Definitely not thrown off his back.
But he can get it done. He definitely can get it done.
Yeah, 49ers fans, don't think that if Kyler's out that we have a cakewalk there matchup. Colt McCoy is a poised veteran quarterback who's played in plenty of big games in his football career, whether that was college at Texas or whether that's been in the league.
Yeah, he was with the 49ers for a while.
He was, and he had a couple of years with the Washington football team, if I remember correctly. They were in the playoff hunt, and he won a couple of games and gave them opportunities late in the season to get into it, and played last year for the New York Giants and got them a win late in the season when all hope seemed lost. So Colt McCoy knows how to win in this league. He knows how to be competitive. He knows how to make plays, and he also knows how to limit mistakes. This is not a guy who's thrown a bunch more picks than touchdowns. This is a guy who's thrown significantly more touchdowns than interceptions in his career. He's about a 500 quarterback for his career in the league. It won't be a cakewalk by any means. If you're the Cardinals, right, you feel pretty comfortable that this is the guy that's your backup quarterback, especially if it's just for a game, just one game. You got to feel like you can get it done and do what you need to do. The Jets didn't feel that way about their guy. They went out and traded for Flacco to bring him in. Didn't suit him, and then got a win against the Bengals anyway. So,
well, there was no way Flacco was going to be ready for that game. There's no way he was going to pick up that offense and be able to go.
What?
Not even close.
Similar offense to San Francisco. He's not going to be able to pick it up. That's stunning.
Yeah, even though he's a veteran quarterback, you still can't pick it up.
He probably needs like 4 or 5 weeks.
No, probably a couple. I mean, I do. I think a couple with and then they completely stripped the playbook down. But
it's true.
After the way their quarterback played this week, I'm guessing White is still the starter for them. Until
you just got to win, right?
Yeah,
you just got to win, and he did enough.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think the 49ers are going to back down. They're not going to take this day off just because if Kyler's not playing. They're going to have to go in there and earn it. They have their backs against the wall. They have the whatever it takes mentality.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go in there and they're going to try to execute and win this game at home. And I know they want to get a home victory because 4-4, which would definitely shift the way the season is looking and being approached. I mean, there is a way that the 49ers, after this game, if they were to beat Arizona, would actually be sitting in the 7th seed in the playoff hunt. So they just got to get out there and get it done. And there's just no looking back. There's no looking around. It's all about what's in front of you. Go get it done. Go beat these guys. Get after Colt McCoy. If he's the quarterback, if it's Kyler Murray, limit his opportunities. But I think it's going to be Colt.
I think it's going to be Colt too. But you just brought it up and you just said it. And it's something that 49ers fans aren't thinking about. If you win this game and get to 4-4, you're officially, depending on what happens with the Rams, but officially like 2 games back of the NFC West. You're 2 games back with 9 games still to play. Plenty of time for this football team.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's not like a guarantee or anything like that. But with Kyler Murray being injured and maybe having to play injured for the next, basically for the rest of the season, because you got to think at some point in time he's going to take a shot. He's going to roll it again. He's not going to be feeling 100%. And then the Rams. If you take care of the Rams in this first matchup early in the season, you're going to put yourself a game or 2 back with still 1 game to play against each of them, and them having to essentially not run away with the division anymore. They have to win now.
They won't have a game with Arizona. That's a complete Arizona.
Arizona, no.
But it'll be that you split.
You split with Arizona. If you get your win against the Rams a week after that, you have 1 more against them with still 2 to play against the Seattle Seahawks.
One more against the Seahawks.
Oh, that's right. 1 more against the Seahawks. We played them early in the season. So 1 more against the Seahawks late. Is it week 13?
It's the last week of the season.
Are we sure about that?
Oh, no, the Rams are the last week of the season.
Yeah. I thought the Rams were the last week of the season. I think it's 13.
Okay.
I think it's 13. I could be wrong on that. Cutback crew, if we're wrong, let us know. But the 49ers are in a position right now where they can completely control their own destiny and really put the screws to the rest of the NFC West. Because what felt like a runaway, literally, 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, Ant, is slowly starting to feel like not a runaway with the way things are going and the way things are piling up. I know a lot of people were talking about Deshaun Jackson and the weapon that he is. He wants to be traded. He wants out of Los Angeles with that Rams football team. They still have a lot of weapons there on offense, but they're not as, dangerous as everyone thought they were. They can be slowed down. Kyle Shanahan has shown this in the past that this team has their number to an extent. He has kind of McVay's number. It's not going to be easy by any stretch of the imagination at all. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not guaranteed. But this 49ers team is in a position right now to do some serious damage in the NFC West in these next 2 weeks. And the mentality, right, and the mindset is still that this team's back is against the wall, that they're a wounded animal, and any loss could be the difference between you getting in and you getting out.
Yeah, it's all about beating Arizona. I guarantee they haven't thought anything beyond that. It's just getting through, beating Arizona, making your team 4-4, and then once you're at 500, it's like, okay, we're starting over the season. This thing's completely different. We're 0-0. And now we got to win more games, and that's through 8. So, they're going to have 9 games left. And in those 9 games, they want to win more than they lose, but they probably need to go like 7-2 in those last 9 games.
Ideally, yes.
And they have opportunities to do that. Some of the schedule works out for them, but they're going to have tough, pivotal games, against divisional rivals like the Rams and the Seahawks that they're going to have to get over with. And if they win those games, it's a good situation for them. So, they're not out of the woods yet, but they need to start by getting a victory against Arizona, and then I think things can go the right way. But you're right, there's potential for them to make some noise in the NFC West, and if not, win the NFC West, but put some pressure on these other teams to have to do extra things to win, which is nice.
Make Minnesota win out, right? Make them have to play their A game the rest of the season. Carolina, you don't get to take any more losses, and any more losses for you guys, and you guys are going to be punting on the season as well. Just make life hard for the Saints. Make life hard for these teams that aren't the top dog, right, in their conference, in their division. Make their life difficult. Make their life miserable. The Eagles, another team right now that just got to win. They're getting themselves closer to being 500 again and being in the mix of the conversation. If the 49ers just put the foot to the pedal to the metal right now, get a couple of wins here, focus on this one, get this big one against Arizona, hand Arizona their second straight. The rest of the NFC has to start taking notice of what's going on, who's starting to get hot, who's doing what, and that now puts their backs against the wall. And the 49ers are going to be feeling like the backs against the wall the rest of the season, because even if you roll off 3 or 4 straight wins and then you lose a football game, you're still a game, maybe 2 above 500. You're not in the driver's seat. You still don't control your own destiny. What puts you control of your own destiny in is something like you talked about, right? You win 7 of your last 9. You only lose 2 of those football games. And yes, you're now in control of your own destiny, because you're probably in a position where you're one of those top wild card spots instead of fighting for the last one.
There is no team in the NFC that is proven to be unbeatable. You think about the Green Bay Packers. The 49ers lost to them by a last-second field goal. The Arizona Cardinals, they lost to by 7. These are supposed to be 2 of the best teams. They haven't played the Rams yet, so we don't know exactly where we're sitting there.
True.
But those are supposed to be 2 of the best teams. We just saw Tampa Bay lose to the Saints
with no Jameis Winston,
right? And Arizona Cardinals before barely beat Minnesota Vikings on a missed field goal. There has been opportunities for these guys to lose football games. There's no team that has distanced themselves from everyone else. The middle of the group in the NFC, if they can figure it out, there's teams in that middle that have been mucked up that can still do damage in the NFC. So it's all got to play out over time. Chemistry, all those things, players getting healthy on multiple teams is going to play a big key factor. Christian McCaffrey possibly coming back for the Panthers at some point.
That could be huge.
Make
for their
a huge
offense.
difference. So everything is still going to, there's a lot of moving parts that are going to play into this. It's going to be a fun ride, but the 49ers are right in the middle of it, and that's where we wanted them to be, right there where they can compete, have the potential to. Let's get excited about our football team.
Yep.
The same way I don't know, it's crazy, right? In football, if they win a wild card, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just a wild card. Wild card teams have won Super Bowls before. I mean, this is the thing. You just want to get into the dance. You want to be hot at the right time. So I'm excited about the potential that these guys can play all through the year with a competitive nature, and the fact that something is still on the line for them. I like that. I like my team to be able to compete. I know you do as well. I'm not ready to wait for next year. Let's go get it done this year. Let's see what we can do with this roster, with this team, and see what kind of grit, what kind of fight they have.
The other thing too is, right, with that grit and that fight, and if they are able to get themselves into the dance, if they show you something, right, in terms of the pieces you have, number one, it makes your offseason that much tougher because you know what you have with this group and how many of these guys can you afford to just walk away from and let them go somewhere else and contribute to another football team. But number two, it also gives you a better idea of maybe where your weaknesses lied and what was causing some of those problems early in the year that you fixed, right? Because if you correct them, you fix them, you get yourself, going and rolling. Okay, well, now we know what issues plagued us, and now you can go address those things in the draft. You can go address those things in free agency. You can address that with the guys that you're re-signing because they've been through it now, and they know what is expected and what is needed for this team to have success. So many positive things that come out of turning a season around and starting off poor and figuring it out late. A lot of positive things come from that. It's not great necessarily for the fan base. It's not great for us here on the podcast who are watching this team lose close football games and being like, man, just make one more play, just do one thing different, and the entire momentum of the game shifts. But for a football team that's back against the wall like this team's is now, with a quarterback who knows that this is, he's basically watching the end of his time in San Francisco tick down in front of his very eyes because even he knows the future is right behind him and is going to be coming sooner rather than later. There's nothing left to lose. There's nothing to wait on. There's no tomorrow, right? There's only now. There's only this moment. There's only this opportunity that's in front of all of them, and they have to go make the most of it.
I don't think he's waiting for his time to take down anymore. I think he's looking as an attack. Like, this is an opportunity for me to make you think, why did you make this decision?
Yep.
There's a chip on Jimmy Garoppolo's shoulder that we hadn't seen yet this season. When he went into this game in front of his friends and family, there was a chip. It was like, no, I'm still that guy. I saw it 100% when he was playing, the attitude that he was playing with, the confidence that he was talking to his teammates with, the way he was handling the sideline. That Jimmy Garoppolo is different from what we saw even in week one, where we thought we were going to get this, but we didn't. It took a certain situation where now he's accepted the circumstances of his situation, and he's like, no, I'm going to go make something out of this. And remember, he's not worried about just the 49ers. He's worried about next year, about where he's going to be. But I think he's enjoying the ride with this team, these teammates, and realizing, you know what? Since everyone says we can't, let's go do this freaking thing, and let's win and prove to everyone that I'm really that guy. Oh, Tom Brady beat the Bears? I can beat the Bears. You know what I mean? That's how he's got to be. He's got to be that guy. He's got to go back to that. That's what Jimmy was. Jimmy was that guy that was like, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. And I'm hoping we see more of that this week. Let's see how he responds. He plays well against Arizona typically.
True.
If he comes out there and he has another big game, he can build on this, and he can build in a big way. I'm not ready to crown him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ready to crown him and say, oh, he had a good game against Chicago. He's back. What I'm saying is, though, this is a nice stepping stone for him to be able to build on. If he falls off, he falls off. That's on him.
Yep.
But everything that he showed me mentality-wise, just the way his body language and everything was, it was like I'm that guy again.
That guy is still in there. It's still in there somewhere waiting to come out, and maybe it's been triggered, right? Maybe the aura has clicked back on, and we're gonna get that confident, swaggy, just in complete control. No, there's nothing that's going to phase this guy because he's been through a lot already. He's already experienced a lot
weathered,
as a quarterback in this league. So there's nothing for him to be afraid of, right? There's nothing for me. There's nothing that I haven't seen. I'm ready for this. We can do this with me, even though I've only been here for 5 weeks that we saw back in 2017. That guy could be making a return. I hope so, because it's the best quarterback for this team right now. And you're going to tell me that Trey Lance isn't going to be able to learn a lot from that Jimmy Garoppolo? That Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be able to show Trey Lance a whole heck of a lot of things that a nervous, gun-shy, maybe afraid to pull the trigger Jimmy Garoppolo could.
Yeah, you can learn something from every quarterback you play
Also
with.
true.
That's why the misconception is, what's he going to learn from Jimmy? Jimmy's not that good. That's terrible. He's going to learn how to be an NFL pro. Somebody that learned from Tom Brady, and somebody that understands what it takes to go day in and day out and be an NFL quarterback at a pretty high level. Somebody that was willing to take a team to a Super Bowl, that led the team, that was willing to put his own success on the back burner for the success of the football team. Those are all great traits I want my franchise quarterback in the future, Trey Lance, to understand and to learn. He's going to learn those things from Jimmy Garoppolo. Plus, Jimmy Garoppolo's mind is a very impressive thing. The way he's able to manage all the tension, all the things that are going around him, and still be able to show up every day and do what he's supposed to do and have the team behind him, something I want Trey Lance to learn, because there's going to come a time when he's going to have to weather a storm, and I want him to be like, you know what, this is what Jimmy did, and now I can get through it too. To me, all the stuff about learning from Jimmy is a good thing, and anyone that thinks it's not, you've never been in a competitive nature sport, and you don't understand what it takes. And yes, you can 100% learn how to play football while sitting on the bench, while getting reps in practice. That is a real thing. Steve Young did it. I mean, pretty much Aaron Rodgers did it. There is so many different examples of that happening. You don't actually have to be on the field in games to get better as a football player.
And do you mean to tell me that if in high school you didn't get reps in practice, right, or excuse me, in games, you didn't play a whole lot, and you just thought, I'm never going to get better if I didn't play, that it was probably your mentality and your mindset that was preventing you from taking the next step as a player and evolving, and that as long as you take advantage of the reps that you have, work on the things that you can work on, control the things that you can control, you'll improve?
Yeah, I learned something really early on as a player, Alex. Some of it was from my dad. His mentality was, if I'm not on the field, there's a reason I'm not on the field. It's not because the coach doesn't like me or the coach isn't giving me an opportunity. It's because I haven't done enough to prove that I deserve that opportunity. So if I'm not getting enough reps in practice, I better go get reps somewhere else. I better go learn. I better go get better, because I guarantee you, when it is my opportunity, if I start showing something and I prove to be better than the player ahead of me, I will be playing on the field, because that coach wants to win football games. So he's going to want to put the best person out there, the best player. Has nothing to do with ego, personality, nothing. Best player plays. That's how you stay employed in the NFL. That's how you stay employed in a coach. 100%. And so if Trey Lance wants to get on the field sooner, do more. And I guarantee you, he's busting his butt to do it. That. 100%. I believe 100%. In that kid 100%. He's just developing. Give the guy time. And once he gets in there, he's going to blow everyone's socks off. And all the narratives about, he should have been doing this and he should have been done that, they're going to all fade away into the distance. Let these guys do their thing. But right now, Jimmy Garoppolo is the quarterback. He's quarterback one. I'm behind Jimmy Garoppolo as quarterback one. And anytime Trey Lance is in there, I'm behind him as well, because I'm behind the 49ers.
It's all about San Francisco 49ers. It's not about Jimmy. It's not about Trey. It's not about a player. It's about this team. Individual players can help the team get there. But at the end of the day, it's going to take the 11 guys that are on the field in that moment to get it done, the coach to put them in the right situations, and the guys to execute. We need to wrap this thing up, Ant, but before we do, I don't think we brought up and mentioned Elijah Mitchell dealing with the rib injury. We kind of went off a little bit in terms of what this team was, but Elijah Mitchell dealing with a little bit of a rib injury, limited, but Coach Shanahan, Kyle, does not feel concerned about it in any way, shape, or form. He seemed to do just fine on Sunday for the second straight week, rushing for over 100 yards. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not too worried about it. We'll see what happens as the week progresses. If we get to later in the week and this guy's still limited or not practicing, then yes, question marks, especially since we already know, 100% that Kyle Shanahan does not trust Trey Sermon, which means lack of depth, less depth for the 49ers. I would imagine at that point you may see a Jaquez Patrick activation from the practice squad.
I don't know, Jeff Wilson. That's the thing. You got Jeff Wilson Jr. coming back, and if he's going to come in and take 5-6 snaps, you got JaMycal Hasty taking 5-6 snaps. It limits the amount of snaps that Elijah Mitchell's playing.
True.
So expect to see Elijah Mitchell looking a little bit more pudgy around the middle section as he puts on the rib protectors, and he goes out there and plays. And I think the only thing that you can see with that could be a disadvantage is when you do wear those, it can make where you hold the football a little bit different. So hopefully he's going to get it up on the chest. If he gets it down here a little bit, rim protectors will make it puff out a little bit, which leaves opportunities for fumbles. But 100% you want Elijah Mitchell out there. You want him to be carrying the football. He's dynamic. He's proving it every single week that he just keeps getting better and better and better.
Sure.
And the coaching points from Bobby Turner, from everything is vertical to now he's setting up blocks. Now he's stretching when he needs to and then getting vertical. All of it is a point. It's something that you have to coach, and they learn along the way. And he's illustrating those things. I think in a perfect world, they would have loved to have him been learning those things at practice while Raheem Mostert was doing it all on the field and him getting limited carries. They didn't have that option like they do at the quarterback position. So now that he's learning on the fly, and that's why you see his numbers improving, back-to-back 100-yard games. Get ready for number 3, no J.J. Watt. I see an opportunity for him to get another 100-yard game against Arizona.
And don't spoil Wow, That's Bold this week,
Oh, that's
my
not
guy.
bold. That's fact.
At this point, it's accurate.
I haven't got a spoiler yet, but I'll let you guys know what my spoiler will be for this week.
All right, he'll let you know when the time comes. Cutback crew, let us know what you thought about all of this news, the plethora of returns, no trades looking like they're being made, the new injury updates, and Jimmy Garoppolo looking to be the quarterback until the 49ers are no longer relevant in competing for playoffs this year. We want to hear from you on this. You hate it? Do you love it? What are you concerned about? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. If you haven't already, hit that notification bell. And head on over to Patreon. We got good stuff coming out this week. We have the first ever all 22 film breakdown of a 49ers win. That's going to be exciting. You don't want to miss don't want to miss out on any of that, as well as, Ant, all of those great GOAT tier memberships. Your name could be right up here with the rest of the GOAT tier over there on Patreon, $16 a month from them, but you don't have to go that far. You can just go the base minimum. You can go the catch package, $7 a month. That gets you all 22 film breakdowns, 49ers Cutback in Times. Big yikes. I mean, tons of great stuff over there. Or you can just stay right here on the traditional podcasting platforms, right here on YouTube for free. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, and we'll appreciate it nonetheless.
Yeah, definitely. Either way, we love having you here and love having the comments. But I'm loving the positive feel that we're getting from some of the fans. Let's continue this going. Let's get behind this team and really root for them as they have whatever it takes attitude. I think we should have a whatever it takes attitude as well, while breaking these guys down as fans, while still breaking down the game exactly how it was. Just because I'm a fan doesn't mean I can't see something and be like, that's not what it was. We've been saying for weeks, Brandon Ayuk was not working on a punt returner because he's letting the ball hit the ground. You know what Brandon Ayuk didn't do in this week? He didn't let the ball hit the ground. So you know what? I'm more okay with Brandon Ayuk being the punt returner. These are things that need to happen. If they correct it, let's do it. So we're going to be critical of the points we need to be critical of, and the ones that we don't, we're going to continue to praise them on what they're doing. It all has a place as long as you look at it the right way. Don't take outlandish takes.
True. Outlandish takes they're disastrous for you.
Yeah.
They're nightmarish for us. They're very entertaining for Patreon.
Yeah.
They love them. They love them because Big Yikes is rolling when you guys are all doing that, right? When the Twitterverse, 49ers Twitter is going crazy. But look, at the end of the day, all thoughts are welcome here. However you feel about this team, come on in. Let's have a conversation about it. Be rational on it, and we'll have a discussion and try and come to a better understanding, everyone, so we feel better about this football team because we all want the same thing. 49ers wins, a 49ers Super Bowl, the quest for 6 to continue and progress. But until the next one, Cutback crew and the faithful, you stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.